This is Stephen Van Patten with the next come up. My guest is a wearer of many hats. He's an executive producer, a director, and an actor who has appeared in such shows as Moesha and The Parkers and movies like Austin Powers, The Spy Who Shagged Me, and Soul Plane. His latest film, Adam and Eve, just wrapped, and while we are looking forward to talking about that, we also want to talk about something else. Outside of his career as an established Hollywood shot caller, he's done something quite extraordinary. He's created Left of Bang Productions, a company formed with the purpose of exposing at-risk youth to the inner workings of the film industry. Joining me is the brilliant Brian Hooks. Brian, hello.
Yes. Thank you for that intro, man. You made me sound important.
Well, you are important, please, and we're grateful to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me.
So the first thing I wanted to get into before we got into the movie and everything is the origin of the name of the company, Left of Bang, because I read that. I think that's something that everybody should hear. So please tell that story.
Yeah, Left of Bang is the name of the company, and basically, what we do is we extend the olive branch from the inner city onto the Hollywood movie sets. And the name Bang stands for that action moment in a youth's life where they decide to pick up a gun, commit a violent act, anything that puts them on the wrong side of the law. And our goal is to intercept them before that action moment, before the bang, and keep them left to bang. And so that's how our name came about. And we're just looking to sort of balance the field because a lot of these youth are, choosing the wrong path because they have no other options. And we want to be that other option for them.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I read that you were a teacher prior to your career in show business. How was it getting back in the proverbial saddle? Was it different?
Well,
Kids changed?
I was in college studying secondary education to become a teacher.
Okay.
And I come from a long line of teachers, my mother, my sister, my brother. And so even though I was on this entertainment path, I always found myself in the classroom and volunteering my time to different teachers because, that's my love. I love youth. I love spending time with youth. And so what this program Left the Bang has allowed me to do is use my love of youth and teaching combined with my gift of filmmaking to sort of, make the world better and push these kids forward and show them that there is another way.
Right. Let's say I'm lucky enough to be one of your mentees. What does my day look like? What's the plan? What's the curriculum?
Basically, it's expected for you to just commit. What we found is the number one reason these kids join gangs is because they're looking for a sense of family, a sense of belonging. And we want to provide them with that, the sense of family. And so ultimately, though, if they're given a chance to choose between shooting guns and shooting movies, they choose movies every time. So we want to make sure that we provide that option to them consistently. And we, led with the lure of celebrity and Hollywood magic and all these things. But once you slice into that, that's the icing, and you cut into layers and layers and layers of mentorship. And so on a typical day, say like we have our film class coming up, the kids come on. I tell them it's a film class, so don't show up without popcorn. We don't do movies without popcorn. And and so we get started. And, I check on them. I see, how they're doing, what they've been up to, what's their week been like, because again, we want them to know that we care, and this filmmaking is great, but how are you? And so we'll spend the top half talking about that. And then we'll just dive into the filmmaking. And what I'm teaching them is the ability to be able to make a film independently. So it's not contingent upon some studio saying, yes, you can, but showing them the way to get to making a film with little to no money. And so I think that's what is exciting for them because it's something that they can put into practice immediately. And so we dive into that. We're teaching them the filmmaking and things like that. And also I always have special guests come along. And so these guests would be celebrity guests. And so like Anthony Anderson will hop on and he'll give them words of encouragement words of advice and things like that. And also, them with the message to continue to push forward. And, then we have Craig Robinson hopped in. We had Vivica Fox come in. We had JB Smoove come in. And then what we found is, like, for instance, when Craig Robinson, who won the office, so you can imagine the surprise when you have, Craig Robinson just hopping on as someone who you've watched and on one of your favorite shows. So we want them to have fun. We want them to have a good time. We want them to learn. And we hope that they, fall in love with the aspect of filmmaking. But even if they don't, we want to usher them to achieve whatever they want to be and support them in that journey, because that's what the program is about. Not forcing them into film, but supporting them in whatever they want to do.
Mm-hmm. So how do the kids get to you exactly? Like, is there a selection application process? What goes on there?
Yeah, well, I'm currently, connected with the Fresno Unified, Bakersfield Unified also. So as I just stepped out, because I didn't, when we started, I didn't want to spend, weeks and weeks trying to figure out the ideal situation. So I just started walking and I just started going. And it's like that thing, it's like, if you build it, they will come, that saying. And that's exactly what happened. And I also had a lot of relationships because, as I said, I had been speaking with youth at different high schools and, centers already. So I already had a network of a lot of kids who showed interest in the program before the program actually started. And so once the program did start, there was always already a group of kids ready to go. And then since then, like I said, Fresno City Unified, Mentor California, Barack Obama Prep, who I was speaking with previously. Everyone wants these youth in their in the program. And I think the great thing about the pandemic, it's first it caused me to pause and I'm like, okay, what's next? What are we going to do? How do we figure out how to push forward? And it ultimately led to me saying, okay, well, let's do it virtually. And what we learned in that, sort of accidentally on purpose, is with us being virtual, we could stretch from Los Angeles to New York and everywhere in between. And so we have kids in Texas, we have kids in Chicago, we have some out in Jersey. And so there are no limits with that. And then for me is, ultimately have this playground of positivity and coolness with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of kids, ultimately, a place where they know they can come, be a part of a group that's positive and all supporting each other and pushing them towards success.
I'm going to switch gears for a minute. I definitely want to get back to your kids,
Okay.
but we should probably talk about Adam and Eve a little bit. Just give me the skinny. What's Adam and Eve all about?
It's a bit different than what you used to seeing me with the comedy and the over the top, although some people see me do a bit of drama. And this is a straight drama, a love story. And it's about these two people who fall in love, but they both have questionable past. And so what happens is their past skeletons start to creep up and it prevents them from moving forward and living happily ever after. And so it's a traditional love story, but it's a little bit of a spin on it that has a bit of a exciting, unusual ending. And so I'm super excited about it. The film's coming out amazing. In post-production, doing the score for the film now, and it's looking pretty great. So I'm excited for everyone to see it, and I'm pretty sure everyone will enjoy it.
Yes, looking forward to it very much. So just out of curiosity, and actually, I asked this just as a member of the DGA myself. Have the entertainment unions been at all receptive to, the mentee program and things like that? Because usually on a lot of film sets, it's like you can bring in kids to observe and things like that, but usually they don't really let you go too far with the instruction, or I guess what I'm trying to get at is just the tangible, being able to touch, feel, learn kind of thing. Like what's going on with that?
Yeah, and that's been the thing. So I have a very independent background. And years ago, a buddy of mine and myself, We made this $13,000 film, and we finished. The film was absolutely horrible, but it was funny, and it was
Mhm.
90 minutes,
Right.
and it was coming on the heels of Fat Beach. And
Mm.
so what happened is we got distribution through Xenon, this mid-level distributor,
Mhm.
and they put this $13,000 film out. It made $800,000. And so from there, we found a little niche to where we could control our own destinies.
Mhm.
So over the years, it became exhausting having to make films with two hands tied behind my back.
Sure.
But you flash forward till today, and we're living in such an independent time, independent
Mhm.
friendly time, I should say. And so now I have the ability, because of my past, to make a film when I want, where I want, how I want. And I know the
Right.
ins and outs, the starts and finishes to do that.
Mhm.
So that has lent towards me being able to have kids on set, because I'm able to make a film from start to finish. And it's
Mhm.
not always contingent upon the guilds or production companies or the studios saying, okay, you can do this, because I put things in place to make sure that it's safe, and I'm sort of, controlling things from start to finish.
Mhm.
So what we have is these kids are be able to be on these, smaller, more contained sets, to where they
Mhm.
can learn, firsthand, hands-on to a degree, because they're learning on the fly as they're, taking the film class. And so in that sense, to answer your question, I sort of get around, the studios saying yay or nay. But what I also plan to do, in addition to having some of my celebrity friends hop on into their film classes,
Mhm.
is have them invite me onto the set, such as Meg Deloach, who came on and spoke with the youth. She's shooting a Netflix show, Family Reunion, right now. And so
Mhm.
ultimately, the kids will be able to go up there and will, get to check out behind the scenes of a Netflix show. And,
Right.
Anthony Anderson, will, come on the set of his next show.
Mhm.
So with the studios, you're absolutely right. There'll be a lot of red tape to, like, we don't want no lawsuits. We can't have these kids touching nothing. Keep your
Mhm.
hands in your pockets
Mhm.
and one eye closed. But on these independent productions that I'm doing, they'll be able to, be a little more involved.
Yeah, that makes sense. So yeah, that's it, yeah, because especially out there, I imagine there's Teamsters, there's OSHA, there's all kinds of
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So shooting in COVID. I mean, I've been doing some talk show stuff. I can't even imagine trying to pull a film
Mm-hmm.
off. I mean,
Yeah.
like let's talk about how tough that has to have been with just like social distancing and the testing. I imagine there was a lot of
Mm-hmm.
that going on and everything. Um, yeah, well, so how was that for you?
Yeah, it was, like everyone, we were about to gear up to shoot when everything shut down. And so we were guessing,
Mm.
like everyone, oh, it's going to be 4 weeks. Oh, it's going to be 6 weeks. Oh, it'll be three and a half. And here we are, a year plus later. And so everything had paused, and we're sitting waiting. And it was really my youth who sort of inspired me to push forward and make a film, because I wanted to keep things moving forward.
Right.
And while we had the liberty to sit around and wait till 2021, when we anticipated it'll be a little more ideal, I thought to myself, they were suffering. The suicide rate was up. And if it was difficult for us, you can imagine what some of these inner city youth were going through.
Hmm.
And at the end of the day, the pandemic were the least of their worries, because these gangs, they weren't, letting up on recruiting them. And there was so many things and obstacles in their path just to get to the surface to where they can worry about a pandemic. And
Right.
so I said to myself, I didn't want to be one of these guys who said all these cool things and then they didn't hear from, for forever.
Yeah.
And so I said, let me assume this is the new normal and figure out how to push forward. And that's really, the main reason that I decided to push forward. Now, obviously, they couldn't be on the set during that time, but virtually we would check in with them once or twice a week, allow them to meet the cast. I would update them on how things were going. But
Hmm.
the way I navigated around COVID is I stretched the schedule for, much longer than I would normally shoot. And I
Hmm.
shrunk the crew much smaller than I would normally use. And this allowed us to do the test to where it wasn't completely crazy budget wise. We were allowed to social distance, because we were, I think 11 at the most, nine at the smallest. and that allow us to be in space and rooms to where we can keep our distance. We stayed masked. You can keep up with a crew of 9 or 11 versus, 50 or 150. And so that was the main factors, the testing, the mask, shrinking the crew, and stretching the schedule, which allowed us to shoot fewer things each day. And, we were blessed to, have a production from start to finish where no one, got infected, and we safely turned out the movie.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And that's pretty much what everybody is doing. And I know, that's kind of important information for anybody that's out here, like trying to figure out how to shoot something right now, I would imagine.
Yeah.
So just off the cuff, is there anything that, like any kind of help that you might need from the general public? Is there, some way other people can get involved? Like, do you need help that you can actually?
Yeah. You always need help. I'm doing what I can, how I can. But what I have done recently is we have a Kickstarter running right now, and the idea is for these kids to take everything they're learning in class, and then for us to make their first film with me. And so I'm raising funds to help supplement so that they're able to do that. And ultimately, it'll be a film that, they'll see their name on for all their, hard work they put in. There's something they could see on Netflix or one of the other major streaming services, but it's allowing them to take that next step, make that next film. And so I'm excited about that, and looking for help in that sense, because a lot of these things, I want to grow it to something to where it's a huge machine that long after I'm gone continues to spit out scholarships and allows these kids to do documentaries and short films and feature films long after I'm gone. So I'm leaning to the public and those who, identify with the message and the mission, and any amount helps. And it's these kids are not generally afforded these type of opportunities. And, one of the big things is I'm a Rotarian at the Santa Monica Rotary, and I was visiting a neighboring Rotary, and there was a guest speaker who made a very, shocking comment. And he said that they're able to predict at the age of 3 that a child will end up in jail or prison. And so I'm waiting to hear what he has to say next, because I'm saying, okay, there has to be more to that statement. I do not like where it's going. Right. But, he said what he said, and the statement was true. And he went on to give the reasoning as to how they're able to predict that. And he said it's because of the geographical area that the child is born and raised in, the number of gangs that a kid will have to walk by to get to and from school, and whether or not their parents were in jail or prison. And so you have this child at the age of 3 who doesn't know what life is, doesn't possess an ounce of ill will in their body, but simply because of the geographical area that they're born and raised in, the arc of their life is limited to death or prison. And he went on to say, without programs like Left to Bang and others, these kids just don't stand a chance. And so I had to ask myself the question, if I had the ability to make an impact and save these kids' lives, would I? And the answer is yes, I would. And that's what Left to Bang Entertainment is. It's a program that supports these youth consistently. And I'm hoping that the public rallies behind me by donating to the Kickstarter and allowing me to keep pushing forward to support and save these youth.
That's amazing. Thank you. So real quick, before I let you go, I had a very selfish horror movie fan question.
Okay.
Dead Tone. Now, spoiler alert, your character doesn't quite make it to the right to the very end, which is great for a brother in a movie, in a horror,
right.
To get as far as you did in the film. I gotta ask, is there a sequel? Because I'm just saying, as somebody who enjoyed it.
Yeah, we're thinking about it. I made that film a while ago, and we've been talking about it and thinking about it. That was my first crack at horror, and I have plans to do it again soon. And there has been talks of making a sequel to that one. It originally called 75, and we ended up changing the
Right.
name to Dead Tone.
Hmm.
But there absolutely will be another horror, and there's a possibility that it could be a sequel, part two to that one. So,
Okay. No,
uh,
it was a
yeah,
solid horror movie. It definitely was. And
yeah. Thank you.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Brian, I just want to thank you and wish continued success. You are really a wonderful guy, and you're doing an amazing thing. And it's really, really a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you, and I appreciate you having me and sharing, allow me to share on your platform, the mission and the message. So thank you very much.
Oh, no doubt. More next come up after this.